Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Georgia D, come talk with me.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good evening. I love that intro because whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening, it is time to listen. So here we are. I am going to share the birth story about how Eden Joy came about, her name, how the Lord gave us her name, and how she came to be in this world. So I'm very excited about this story. Sorry if you hear some shuffling. We do have, my husband is fixing things right outside the door, so do apologize in advance, but they shouldn't be too loud anyways. So where to begin? I'm glad, I just want to say before I get started that I am super glad that we are podcasting again, and I'm just really excited about it because I did take a break, but it wasn't because I wanted to take a break. It was like I needed to take a break. I could not function properly, and if you listen to last week's podcast, then you already know that, and I'm not going to repeat myself. So if you haven't listened to the podcast from last week, I would highly recommend going and listening to that. If you're bored or you don't have anything to do or whatever, you need something to listen to, I highly recommend, because it talks about why I stopped and why I started again, and then a lot of stuff in between that's just been going on. So super fun to listen to. So if you're bored, yeah, let's just jump right into it. So I actually thought that, let me start from the beginning. Okay, so how Eden Joy got her name. Let's begin that. We actually got her name over a year and a half, maybe, or more, almost 2 years before she was born. Not quite. Okay, so it was in like February of 2023. Caleb had a dream, and we actually had been going through a miscarriage at that time. It was a blighted ovum, and the following year before that, we had gone through 4 miscarriages during that time. I think we had one more miscarriage. No, okay, I'm getting things mixed up. So when he had the dream, we had 4 miscarriages that year and part of the year before. In 2022, we had 1 in 2022, and then we had 3 more in 2023. I think we were going through one or something. It was around that time we were having one, but when he had the dream in February of 2023, so he had a dream, and the dream goes like this. He was in the hospital, and I had just delivered the baby, and his dad gave him the baby, handed him the baby, and his dad goes, "So what's her name?" And it was a girl, and he goes, "Her name is Eden Joy." And Caleb's like, "Wait, I have to tell Georgia." And he turns to go into the actual postpartum room where I was, and because he was outside the room, and he turns to go in, and as he's opening up the door, he wakes up from the dream. And I was just walking into the room in real life where he was sleeping. I was probably doing laundry or something, and I walked in, and he just sits right up. He's like, "I think we're having a girl." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" Because we were not pregnant at the time, I do not think, or we were having a miscarriage. We were somewhere in between. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I just had a dream that we were having a girl, and her name is Eden Joy." And I just started bawling and crying, and I'm like, "That's her name. I love that name. That's her name." And we started looking up what the name means. It means delight, that the Lord's delight. And and then joy obviously means joy. And the Lord had given us some prophetic words about what her name means, like about how wherever she goes, she will be a joy to the world around her, and the joy of the Lord, and which is everything. And so we've already seen that everywhere we go, people stop us. And I don't think I had that as much with Everest. Not to say, I don't know, but for some reason, like, people stop and stare when we are walking around with her. And I've already seen her bring so much joy to so many different people. Even when she was a day or two old, like, people would stop and they're like, thank you so much for sharing your baby with me, like, just letting them look at her. And maybe that happens to everybody with every baby, and maybe that's just the Lord in brand new babies. Sorry, my phone was on low, so I may not get to record this whole thing just today. Unfortunately, it might have to be this afternoon, but it's best when all the kids are napping. Anyways, so we realized, that was her name. We had maybe 1 or 2 more miscarriages at that time. So fast forward to like June or July of 2023. I had kind of forgotten that her name was that. We had a few miscarriages, maybe 2 or 3 miscarriages since then. I woke up, I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, and I woke up. No, I couldn't sleep. I was awake or whatever, and I couldn't sleep, and I felt like I was just like on YouTube or whatever, and I saw this one word, and this person was giving, and at one point in the prophetic word, he was saying, the Lord is turning your grave into a garden. And at that very moment, I felt the presence of the Lord fall on me super, super strong, like it was heavy. And I felt heat in my womb, in my stomach, in my womb. And it got really hot. And I felt his presence so strong. And I felt the Lord was specifically saying, I'm turning your grave into a garden. And I felt his presence, and it was so hot. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, he's healing me. Whatever was wrong, he's gone. And I just start crying. And then after a few minutes of just being in his presence and thanking the Lord and praising him, I realized he was saying, I'm turning your grave into a garden. And her name, remember from the dream, her name is Eden, which is a Garden of Eden. And I just started crying all over again, because she was the marker that marked my healing and marked for the next several kids that we're gonna have. Probably not several, probably few. Yeah. But maybe if the Lord wants us to, there's a reason he healed me. There's a reason that we have gone through this, all the miscarriages. We've had 5 total, and there's a reason now that we're healed. And I have noticed a lot of people around me have had miscarriages and have trouble getting pregnant. So this is just something I feel like the Lord is giving a word to me so that I can give it away to those around me, because I felt like he wasn't just giving this word to me. He was giving this word to the people around me that have had trouble having kids or having miscarriages, that this word is for them, that he's turning your grave into a garden. And that I'm able to prophesy that over people, that they will have babies and they will have a garden inside them, that it started with Eden. And so anyways, she represents the Garden of Eden, where things flourish. Things can't die. Things don't die in the Garden of Eden. They are alive and well. So anyways, it's the place where God meant for us to dwell and be his delight. And so anyways, that is how we got her name and how she came to be. And yeah, it just is such a impactful story for me. I'll never forget it. Anyways, so how the birth story. So I started, let me think. Okay, it was at 4 a.m., I want to say, that I woke up. Yes, I woke up at 4 a.m. having small contractions, like period cramp type contractions, the easy ones that you can talk through. I sat on the toilet. I woke up and I started trying to lay down, and it kind of feels like you have to poop a little bit, but not really. It's not like having a baby, like when you need to have a poop like that. I just felt like period cramps, like stuff is trying to come out, like whatever, you know what I mean, the pulling. And I mean, if you're a guy, you don't know what I'm talking about, but if you're a girl, you definitely know what I'm talking about. So anyways, I was laying in bed trying to go through the contractions, just on my phone, hanging out, like, you know, whatever, through the contractions. They were easy, not bad at all. But I felt like I was in labor, you know, like I don't have a lot of pre-labor. Like, I know my sister-in-law had a lot of pre-labor. So, you know, I just haven't not had that. And then there's a friend that I have in our community. She had so much pre-labor too. So I've heard that that's pretty common. To have some pre-labor. I did have one moment of pre-labor. It was only for like 5-10 minutes a couple days before. I will say that I was 39 weeks on the day when I started at 4 a.m. on the 23rd when I started having contractions. And I definitely thought I was going to be late, because with Everest I was 2 weeks late, but with Eden this is 1 week early, and I definitely thought I would be late. So anyways, yeah, so I started contractions at 4 a.m. I was laying in bed, and then I would go and sit on the toilet, back and forth between sitting on the toilet and, because my butt would get sore, TMI, sorry, and then I would go back in bed and back to the toilet. And when I was on the toilet, I was watching Anne of Green Gables. Super fun to watch while in labor. And it was the third movie, so it was kind of like war scene, like a lot of war, which wasn't so great, but otherwise it was really good. Like, but it was kind of like hard to watch some war scenes while in labor. I don't know if you get my drift, like severed body parts. I don't know, it just doesn't go well with labor. So I was kind of like a little on edge. So I decided, when the contractions started getting pretty strong, like quickly, they kind of like picked up quick. I mean, I guess from 4 to 7 is when I was laboring. And the contractions by 6 were getting really strong. I guess after 2 hours, they were getting really strong. So I started taking a shower, and then I got out, and then I went back to the toilet and the bed, and then they got strong again. So I went and took I think I took a bath first, if I'm being honest. And then, no, I took a shower first, and then I got out, and then bath and bed and whatever, the toilet and bed. And then I went and took a bath, like a really hot bath, as hot as I could stand. Well, without hurting the baby, you know, it couldn't be too hot. And then I was having pretty strong contractions where I was like, okay, I'm super uncomfortable now, like this is really strong. They weren't like I'm ready to push strong, but they were pretty strong, where I was like kind of holding my breath, which I shouldn't be, and I have a bad habit of that during labor. I guess everybody does, but I wasn't breathing through them so well. And so I was like, I remember like hearing the Lord, like, I think you should consider going to the hospital. And I kind of felt, I think I need to wake Caleb up, because I just let him and Everest sleep, because I was like, why wake them up and have them just sit and watch me go in labor? Like, no, they'll sleep. And then I finally, at 7, I was like, okay, I think I need to, I kept saying, it was so funny, I was in the bathtub, and I was like, I just kept saying to myself, like, I think I should consider going into labor, like while I was going through a contraction. And then I would get done with the contraction, and then I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna wait 1 more minute, and I'd sit and watch Anne of Green Gables, and then I'd go through another contraction, because my contractions were about 4 minutes apart, which is, the doctor wanted me to go in at 5 minutes apart, but I was like at 4 at that point. And I think that kind of scared me a little bit too, that I was already at 4 minutes, and it wasn't that long. Like, for me, from 4 to 7 is not that long to be in labor, to already start getting at 4 minutes apart. Like, that's pretty fast for me, because I was in labor for 36 hours total with Everest. And so only having a couple hours, and now like potentially needing to go to the hospital, potentially getting close to actually pushing was crazy for me. But I decided to go wake him up, and I woke him up. I'm like, I think we need to go. He sat up wide-eyed. He's like, really? It was so funny. And I was like, yes, I think we gotta go. So he's like, oh, okay. So he's like, what do I do? And I was like, okay. I already actually packed everything. Like, I had packed the toiletries for me and him, and I packed Everest's bag to go to Grandma and Grandpa's for the night and for the day, and all his toiletries. I just needed Caleb's clothes, so then Caleb just got his clothes if he needed for the day and then the night or whatever. And then we called his mom, and his mom came and picked up Everest, and Everest was so cute. We brushed his teeth, got his clothes on right away, and Caleb's mom was right over. And then Everest was so happy-go-lucky. Like, he didn't even skip a beat. He was like, let's go, Grammys. And they were off to do their adventures, and he couldn't care less that we were not involved, and he was happy. And that was something I had a lot of anxiety about, like, leaving him. And so that was awesome. And he was just so happy. And then we were headed out to the hospital, and I kept saying to Caleb, careful over the bumps, although you can't be careful over the bumps because they're bumps. And so, but the bumps were kind of uncomfortable driving into town. And although I say that now, and I just talked to somebody who was 10 centimeters dilated when they drove to the hospital. So yeah, I guess I can't complain, because when I got to the hospital, I was 5 or 6 centimeters. I think I was 6 centimeters dilated. Maybe 5. I was 5. So I had dilated 2 centimeters at home by myself. So I might have been 6. I was 5 or 6. And so I went through triage, and that was great. The ladies were great. The contractions were actually kind of getting a little more tough at that point. And then they wheeled me to the hospital, the delivery room, which we got a really awesome delivery room that our lactation lady like reserved for us like a month in advance. It was so sweet. And so it was really big, and we had like a hot tub and a big pool, and we had the tub. It was so awesome, but I ended up not using it. I ended up going and getting an epidural, but they were waiting like a long time, and then my contractions actually the people were kind of waiting a little bit, like the doctors and the anesthesiologist, whatever how you say their name, anesthesia people. They were waiting, and my contractions started getting really, really strong, like crazy strong. Like the nurse, when I first walked in, when we first were in triage before they admitted us, she said, "What are your contractions like?" And I was like, "Oh, like a 4 or 5." Like, they weren't that bad, but they were kind of strong, you know. Like, I was uncomfortable, and I was closing my eyes, and I was having to breathe through them. So maybe they were a 5. And when I was on the table, on the bed, waiting for like the anesthesiologist or whatever, and the nurses, like, I was starting to get to like level 8. Like, it had significantly, and they were only 2 minutes apart at this point, like 2 minutes apart contractions, and like at an 8, like super strong. Like, I swear I was about to start pushing really, really soon. And that was at 10 a.m. by the time we started in that room. And I actually they came right away, like, because I was like kind of moaning and screaming at that point, like crying almost, basically. And so the anesthesiologist like came right in, like right after that, because Caleb called to the nurse's desk, and they came in like so fast. I was like, okay, I don't know why they were waiting for so long, but obviously they weren't in that big of a hurry, but they were just taking their time. And so then they came right in, and I actually got an epidural at that point, and it was kind of felt weird. Like, I don't remember it. Like, like when they put the needle in and the stuff in, it's almost like the pain or like the feeling in your leg disappears immediately. Like when they push the needle in, it almost like it pushes a reaction in your legs that makes your legs, like when the doctors like hit your knee and then the reflex makes your knee go up. Well, it's kind of like that, or it was for me. Like they push it in your back and then it's almost like my leg doesn't actually go out, but the feeling that is like the leg pushes out and wants to push up like that, like swing up. And then all of a sudden the pain is gone and all the feeling's gone. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. It's instant relief. I don't know. So, like, I was pretty close. I think I was about to start pushing. Like, the contractions were super strong. Like, whoa. I did not get to that strong of contractions with Everest. Like, I got the epidural way sooner than that. So, anyways, although I think I was contracted, or I was dilated to 6 last time when I got admitted. So, I don't know. Anywho, I think it just was harder to dilate the first time or something, which I guess it's your first baby, so I guess that's normal. But anyways, so at 10 a.m. we got the epidural. Then I waited around. All my contractions completely stopped. Like they were 2 minutes apart. They drifted to 7 minutes apart from 10 to noon, and they were like hardly any contractions because the epidural basically kills your natural flow of birth, I guess. And I've heard that before, but I like experienced it this time. Well, I experienced it last time, but I didn't notice it. This time I noticed it. And so they said they were going to give me Pitocin, but I said no at noon because we waited for 2 hours. Nothing really changed. I was still dilated at 5 or 6 or whatever in between. And then they're like, well, we can break your water or something. So I was like, okay, well, let's go the natural route. You can just break my water. So at noon, they broke my water. And we waited from noon to 4 and nothing. I was still the same. And I was like starting to get a headache. I think the Pitocin or the epidural, the side effect is a headache. And I was starting to feel like yucky, like nauseous randomly, like in and out. Because I was eating, and I guess I wasn't really supposed to eat. But I don't know. I was getting really hungry because I hadn't eaten since the night before. And so I was just like, I'm just ready to get this over with. So then I told the nurse, like, okay, you can do like the smallest amount of Pitocin, but then wait a really long time. So she did. She gave me like 1 cc, I think, of Pitocin. I don't know if that's the right measurement. She gave me the smallest amount of Pitocin. I dilated I probably was dilated sooner than 20 minutes, but she checked me after 20 minutes and I was already dilated to a 10. So I went from like a 5 to a 10 or a 6 to a 10 in less than 20 minutes. I'm like, I should have done this at noon when they asked me to do it, but I didn't know. And I've heard that if you do Pitocin or inducing and Pitocin and all that, then you have a likelier chance to go to C-section. I just did not want to do a C-section with everything in my body. So I was just trying to avoid that. And I just wanted to keep it natural. So then, I dilated to 10, and then I started pushing right away. After 20 minutes, they came in. They're like, oh, yeah, you're ready. Let's do this. And I got kind of nervous when the doctor came in. Like, are you ready to have your baby? And I was like, yeah, no. Like, I was just nervous about that pushing part. And then, this time, like on my first push, the doctor's like, yeah, you want to feel the baby's head? She's right there. I was like, dang, like, why is this so easy this time? Like one push and her head was right there. And I got to feel the baby's head like still in me, which is crazy because I did not get a chance to do that last time. Or the doctor just didn't, or maybe she asked me and I just was like, no. That's probably what I did, because I was still uneasy. And then she was just like, come here, feel the baby's head, because I kind of didn't really answer her this time. And she just grabbed my hand and was like, feel the baby's head. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling the baby's head. Crazy. Okay, wow, okay. And it was all gooey. Anyways, and she had hair. So then Yeah, I pushed for another 20 minutes, and then the baby was out, I think 20 or 30 minutes, and I pushed and she was out, which is half the time as what I had to push for Everest, which is great. So I can see it going down the time, so I can expect probably a much quicker birth with the next one, hopefully, God willing. And okay, just making sure I have enough battery to finish this story. And yeah, so then she came out, and then we did skin to skin right away. And Caleb, we kind of decided that Caleb would go home and be with Everest for the night because she was born at like 4:47 or something. And then they did a bunch of the tests that they do and all that, and she was not jaundiced, praise the Lord, because that was our biggest problem after Everest was born last time. And we didn't have to do, obviously, a circumcision because she was a girl, and that was a relief, and just nice to not have to worry about that or try to decide, are we going to do a circumcision or not, and all those decisions you have to make, and we just didn't have to worry about that, which is very sweet for my heart. And yeah, and then yeah, so Everest, or Caleb, kind of waited until around 7 or 7:30 to kind of gather his things. He ended up being able to do skin to skin as well, which is really sweet and really important to us, for both of us to do skin to skin. I nursed her right away as soon as she got out. Some lactation came in, and we did nursing right away. And then I think after like a little while, by 8 p.m., we were in the room. No, it was before 8. No, it was after, around 8, whatever. I think Everest had gone to bed at our house, and Caleb had asked his mom to come drop him, like put him to bed in our house because Caleb was coming home. And at that point, I kind of was like, man, I really didn't want Caleb to leave at that point, but we had already told his mom that he was going to come home and she could go home and sleep in her own bed. So anyways, maybe next time they sleep at Grammy's house or whoever grandparent we live by or whatever, who knows where we'll live at that point. But maybe next time it will be different, who knows, because I kind of liked having Caleb there with Everest. So maybe next time we have Caleb with us overnight, the next time, who knows. So we'll see. It might be completely different, and we'll see. We don't know. But I spent the night at the hospital, and I didn't sleep at all because she was spitting up a lot, and I didn't really understand it or know why, so that was kind of tough. I just ended up sleeping, holding on to her, swaddling her and holding on to her the whole night, or part of the night, like halfway through the night, because I was like, I am not going to sleep unless I'm holding her, because she's not sleeping very well and she needs to sit up some. And so sorry about all the noises. Yeah. So but yeah, so I just held her, and then the nurses came in and they like saw me holding her, and I think they wanted her in their own separate place or whatever, but I was like, sorry, this is the only way I'm gonna sleep because she keeps spitting up and she's laying flat, so I needed to have her sitting up and blah blah blah. So I did what I needed to do, and I know they didn't like it, but that's what worked for us. So yeah, we spent until the afternoon the next day, and Caleb and Everest, our family got to go like boating that day, and we were trying to wait to not have eaten until the day after the boat, but yeah, it just didn't work out. I had the baby sooner. So then Everest came and met Eden, and we got to spend time together as a family. It was awesome. Yeah. And then on the way home, oh my gosh, like I ended up wanting to leave because I could feel like some spiritual deal going on, like some sort of like depression in the hospital. So I was like, I think I just need to leave this place. Like I'm feeling like a depression here. Like it like came in only on the second day. So I was like, I think I need to leave. Like I'm feeling this really strong. I need to go home. And so Caleb and Everest came and picked me up, and Eden up, and a nurse came with us when we were bringing everything out because we had a ton of stuff, and she carried out some stuff for us and for Everest. Everest wanted a muffin. They had muffins there, and so they gave him a muffin, and so she was helping carry his stuff out, and he had some stuff, and then all the things that we carried out, it started to like rain as we were walking out. And for some reason, when you have a new baby, like all the elements are like way too foreign and crazy, and like you don't want any elements from outside to like touch your baby because they're so fragile and new. And maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's how moms kind of feel when they leave the hospital. And so it's starting to rain, so it's like worst case thing ever. And then, well, what I thought, so we actually didn't get the car seat set up beforehand, so I went and oh, this is another thing too. Like, we had a car seat that we really liked from Everest, but they didn't have the inserts. We couldn't find the inserts. Lo and behold, we found it like a week or two later. Like, actually, I found it probably last week, and Eden is like a month old now. And so I had found it under the rocking chair in the baby room, which I had set it out specifically so that we would have it at birth for her. But apparently it got hidden and pushed under and couldn't find it. So Caleb went and bought a whole new car seat just with inserts. With the inserts, it wasn't even that good. So we ended up putting a blanket on around her head, kind of to keep it in place to not move around, because that one didn't even work, which is ironic because we had the other car seat and we could have just done that with the regular car seat just to get home. And then we ordered something for Thursday, like a week before the birth. We had already ordered like some inserts to put in the car seat that we liked, and we were going to take the other car seat back, which we ended up doing already. So all of that was for nothing, basically, because we had this new car seat we bought that didn't even have the right inserts. It was stupid. So I was trying to figure out how to put the new car seat in, even though we had the old car seat sitting in our trunk. So it was kind of chaotic because Everest was like needing to get into his seat, and then so the nurse was like helping him get in his seat. Caleb was holding Eden, and I was putting in the new car seat. And it was starting to rain, and it started to hail at that moment. So we had the trunk open, and Caleb was like sitting under the trunk with the trunk open, and I was trying to put the car seat in because I normally do car seats. And so I did figure it out, not like after a while. And then we put the baby girl in there, and it started hailing. It was hailing, and so we like covered her as we like walked from the trunk to the door, put her in. And then I ended up sitting in the back because the insert, like the towel blankets that we put around her, like weren't great. So I went and sat in between the two car seats because Everest was wanting things and she was needing help, and it's hailing out and raining out. It was super chaotic. There was so much rain and water in the streets, and then cars were kind of driving kind of crazy. It was very insane ride home. Not what we needed, but it's what happened. So we were just trying to make it home. And as we got out, we kind of drove out of the storm as we got closer to home. And at that moment, when I looked to the left, there was a double rainbow, like a double rainbow. I don't know how to, I feel like I'm not saying it, it was a double rainbow. And I had a flashback when the Lord gave me a word. It said, the day that you drive Eden Joy home, there will be a double rainbow in the sky. And that's a sign from me that what happened in the past will no longer ever be. I will not have any more miscarriages, basically, is what I felt he was saying. Because it just like with Noah and the rainbow and the flooding, just because you see rain now doesn't mean he's gonna flood the earth. He said he's never gonna flood the earth again. And so no matter what, we're not going back to miscarriage land. We are in having perfect babies from now on. And so I was just praising the Lord, and I started crying when I saw the double rainbow, because I had forgotten about the double rainbow and the word that the Lord spoke over me. I don't even know when. I went to look back in the journals, but I couldn't even really find it in the journals. I wonder if it's in my prophetic word Bible. I have a journal of all my prophetic words that the Lord has given me over the years, and I wonder if I wrote it in there. Anyways, I haven't been able to find it, but I remember the Lord speaking it to me. And as we drove home, we drove into out of the storm and into sunshine and rainbows. And so it was crazy. Just, I don't know, the Lord is so beautiful and so amazing. And it just reminded me of, just was making me think of the Lord and how wonderful he is and everything that he does. And yeah. Well, that is the birth story. And now Eden is a month old in a few days already, which is crazy. It flew by so fast. She is already out of newborn diapers. She is in size 1 diapers already, which is insane. And yeah, we're just trucking along. I'm starting to be better at being a 2-kid mom. I was very intimidated the first day Caleb went back to work. But lo and behold, I can do it. We've gone to the park a couple times alone, just me and the kids, which is awesome. I am doing it, and I never thought I could. But perhaps being a 3-kid mom will be much harder. I think I have heard the transition from 1 to 2 is okay, but 2 to 3 is a little bit more challenging. So we will venture down that road when we get there. Lord willing, again, Lord willing. I would love to have 3 kids if the Lord wills it. So we will venture down there maybe next year or the year after. Yeah. So we're doing good. Eden's great. She's a very calm baby. She's got a little upset stomachs here and there. Sorry about that. But yeah. Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. And we will see you next week. Yeah. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. It was my pleasure. Please subscribe and leave a review. It means so much. And share this with a friend. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye-bye.